Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NooBiker channel. I hope you're all doing very well. I see there's a few of you already in the chat. A few new ones. Hey, Tomek. Hi, Andy. Hi, Quinn. Hi, Adventurous Rider. Great to have you guys on the chat. Hi, Peaky. Good to see you there as well. I don't think I'm going to spend too much time waffling on with any whiffle waffle. I'm just going to go straight ahead and introduce the guest for today. Dewey Rides and Exeter Rider is also going to be on the live stream. So let's bring them in.
Hello, everyone.
Hey guys.
Hey up. How you doing?
Doing good. Good. How are you guys?
We're
Yeah,
right.
good. Really wishing winter is over and spring finally arrives. It's been a bit changeable here. I am very envious of you being in a warmer climates. So Dewey, tell us where you are right now.
I am in Buenos Aires, Argentina, right now.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to check another country off here shortly to go to Uruguay and then Brazil.
Fantastic. So just summarize your trip. You live in the sort of northwest of the United States normally, so Oregon.
Yeah, I live in Portland, Oregon, which is the very northwest corner of the United States. And the 30-second version of what my trip has been was I left last April, so almost a year now, and I started heading south. I got into near Mexico City, and my previous motorcycle was stolen from a hotel.
Yeah, I got my crayons out earlier on, Dewey, and I drew this. I think it's kind of a good approximation.
A reasonable approximation. Close enough to scale, yeah. I mean, but yeah, the point is somewhere there in central Mexico. My other bike was stolen, so I spent a month there in Mexico dealing with the paperwork, and then I flew back to the States, bought the bike that I'm on now, the Honda CRF 250, and then I rode that from Portland to Florida because the only place that I could find that was willing to ship my motorcycle to Bogota was in Miami. So I rode to Miami, shipped the bike to Bogota, and then have been working my way south to the southern tip at Ushuaia. And now I've worked my way back up through almost all of Argentina, and I'll be going up to Brazil and Uruguay next.
And if you want to see something a little bit more technologically advanced than Noob's Google Images and Scribble, I think you sent me this. So you actually got you've got like a Garmin location.
Yeah, it's a Garmin In Reach, so that's my actual track.
And you're using that to kind of keep family and friends informed.
Yeah, keep family and friends informed. I actually have an agreement with a couple of my friends and my parents that I will message them every single night when I get to a hotel and I'm safe for the night. And I have the entire trip. And if for some reason I have no internet or cell phone service, then I can use the InReach to also message them and let them know that I'm okay with that. Just peace of mind for everybody. And of course, it has the SOS feature if something were to, knock on wood, happen.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because we all think, oh, well, I'm going to go on an adventure, but the people who stay behind are the ones who probably get more stressed out and worried about things, isn't it?
Yeah, and even when I'm back home doing a week-long trip, if I'm dual sporting out in the Oregon backcountry, my family wants to know where I'm at and be able to track me because it's some pretty remote areas. So, I think it's a good thing for everybody, whether you're going around the world or just, doing an overnighter, to be able to keep in touch in case you need to.
We have your new friend, Andre.
Andre, tell Andre to watch the football match. He's at the stadium, I believe.
Oh wow,
Big
okay.
match on today, is there?
Some kind of São Paulo State Championship rubbish. uh, whatever. Anyway, back to this journey. I mean, Dewey, I've been following you since before the journey, and I think I've always been very impressed with your tour videos when you were doing tours of some of the parks in the US and some of your trips over there. But tell everybody about your drive and your desire and your impulse to do this longer trip.
Yeah,
What's it all about?
I mean, it's been a long time, probably 20 years ago, I was reading on Adventure Writer of people doing these trips, and the famous Route of 40 and the Carretera Austral and all the stuff in South America. And I always said, if I ever get the chance, that's something that I would really like to do. And many years later, I was in a spot where it was going to be an option. So about 4 years ago or so, I kind of did the math on what I thought a realistic budget to do it was, and how much I needed to save each month to put that money away. And I just started doing that every month, and got the money, and then decided to go do it. I'm not getting any younger, and the longer I wait, the less adventurous it's going to be, and the less capable I'm going to be to go do it. So I wanted to go as soon as I could.
Yeah, I think that's the thing for a lot of us, right? We wanna do things, but there's always this I'll leave it till I'm ready, or I'll leave it for another year, or something else comes up in work, and then by the time you look at it, you're no longer even kind of maybe physically able to do stuff. So hats off to you, and kudos to you for actually kind of turning your desires and your dreams into a reality.
Yeah, I'm very lucky in that I have a career that gives me the option to easily come back and find a job even when the economy is not great. I'm in a pretty high demand industry, so that really helps too, because I don't have a lot of worries about what's going to happen when I come back.
And so, can you give us an idea of kind of roughly what your daily burn is in terms of the spend on average?
It varies wildly. I need to do the math again. When I did it when I was home from Mexico, I was quite a bit under what my initial budget I thought would be, by about 30 to 35%. And
Okay.
there were certainly some other places that were quite a bit lower as well. But then some places like Chile blew the budget a lot. The longer I was in Chile, the higher that average climbed. It's a much more expensive country. My goal is to try to keep it around $80 a day for gas, food, and hotel.
Oh
And
wow! I mean,
the occasional stuff, which I think is, I don't stay in the absolute cheapest places all the time. I like to have something that's got safe parking, air conditioning if it's hot, comfortable. But it's been pretty easily doable at that.
is the
Can I
safe
just step
parking
in here,
thing
Dewey,
something that happened after Mexico?
Say that again.
You took
Sorry.
the words out of my mouth.
Go ahead,
then.
Steve.
Yeah. No, what
Go
happened
on.
with
Go on, Steve.
your bike, your 650?
Yeah. So
That was a tough video to watch. I watched that today, and that was a tough video to watch, and I felt for you.
yeah, it was, but and as I talked about, I think I can't remember if I talked about it much in that video or the next one. The people there were absolutely amazing to me that helped me. I'm forever in debt to the people in that area of Mexico and their help. But yeah, I went to a hotel, parked it, parked the motorcycle right in view of the front desk. The gate was supposed to be closed, and sometime in the middle of the morning, the gate was left open. Nobody was at the front desk. A guy pulls up in a taxi and gets out of the taxi, walks right up to my bike, quick snap of the steering lock, and then out the front. With it, and just pushed
it. Was a tough watch because they actually caught that on camera as well, didn't they? And you can see him walking out with it. No rush, was he? He just literally picked it up and just rode off. Yeah.
Yeah, and you watch him get out of the taxi and walk in. He knew exactly what he was there for. I think I think, and the people down there in Mexico that have seen that saw the footage and helped me, they all said the same thing. They all think somebody at the hotel was involved, called their friend, said this motorcycle's here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. I learned an expensive lesson that you can't trust that secure parking is secure, and I should have locked the bike up.
Yeah. That's hindsight, though, isn't it, Dewey? That is hindsight, and even if you locked it, they could have come round with some boat croppers, and you'll be saying, "Oh, I wish I'd done more to do, chain and whatever else." So yeah, but it is horrible situation.
But at the same time, I wouldn't have gotten to meet the people I did. I wouldn't have gotten to spend the time that I did there. And that was honestly, one of the biggest highlights of the whole trip was spending that month in Mexico and making real friends. When you spend a month with the same group of people, you actually get to be friends with them. It's not just somebody that you meet for a few minutes and then move on. So I really appreciated that time, and I feel really lucky that I got to do that and spend that time there. It just sucks that it cost me a bike to go through that experience.
Yeah. It's funny how some of the worst things that happen when you travel actually turn out to be some of the best times, in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they say the adventure always starts when something goes wrong.
So true.
Yeah.
What is
Did they ever find it? Did they ever get the bike back or no?
No. And, I certainly made it clear to the police that if it was found or anything, there would be a very sizable reward for it.
Yeah.
But no,
nothing at all.
Yeah, most people down there, the first couple of days, they said maybe. After a couple of days, they're like, no, that bike's gone. It's up in the woods somewhere. And, 2 years down the road, they'll go pull it out and then try to get it started after everybody's forgot.
For people that don't know, we have to remind them that you were in another country, that you didn't really speak the language either, did you? You didn't really know the lingo.
No, I mean, I still don't really speak. My Spanish is getting better, and it gets better every day, but no. I had to have a lot of help. The people that were there that morning at the hotel, I don't think they were in any way involved. You could tell they were horrified that it happened. They did everything they could to facilitate interpreting with the police with the English they knew. And what really got lucky is I had met a man that rode a big BMW a couple weeks before that. And then I stayed at his house for a couple of days, and he had bought some bikes from the U.S. and brought them to Mexico, and bought bikes in Mexico and sold them in the U.S. I thought, if anybody knows about buying and selling bikes as a foreigner, it's going to be him. And so I sent him a message, and I said, hey, what do I need to do to buy a bike in Mexico City to keep going? Here's what happened. And he said, well, where are you? We need to get you some help first. And so he made some phone calls and got in touch with local motorcycle clubs and things like that from that area. And they sent a gentleman over who was a lawyer to help me navigate all of the police and legal paperwork, which was much, much more complex than I could have ever done. And then another woman came out with him as well, and she owned a hotel about 40 kilometers from where I was at. And she said, after you guys do everything with the police paperwork, we'll load all of your stuff up, in a taxi and have them deliver your stuff and you to my hotel, and you can stay as long as you need to go through this process. And, she put me up. She fed me 3 meals a day when I was there. The motorcycle people there loaned me a little small 150 cc motorcycle to ride around while I was there. They would take me all sorts of places, so I got to do a lot of stuff while I was there. So that
turned out to be amazing, really. Yeah. Wow.
That just goes to show, when sometimes life was the saying, when life deals you lemons, make lemonade.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a good reminder for a lot of us. And I imagine that the UK is very similar to the US in that we've all gotten so used to being so self-sufficient and having insurance and auto club and all this stuff that we've gotten out of the habit of helping other people because we have all these safety nets. And it's kind of a good reminder that, we all need help sometimes, and maybe be a little bit more willing to help somebody else if you see them.
Absolutely, because I'll tell you, I don't know if how insurance works in the US, but over here, insurance can just be just the beginning of your nightmares.
Yeah.
If they will refuse to pay out, or they'll try to find any reason why they won't do it. If you have recovery, like a recovery service, and I know I do, just in case, but all the advice you always get is don't bother calling them. They'll take 3 hours to get to you, and then they'll send somebody who doesn't know anything about bikes. They don't know how to load the bike onto the truck. And if he tries, he'll probably make it fall over. So yeah, it's but I think
really, can you? Yeah.
But I think there's definitely a culture of motorcyclists to always kind of stop and help. If you see somebody on a bike on the side of the road stopped, right? You always tend to say, "Oh, maybe I should stop and offer assistance, see what's going on." I know even who was it? I think it was Speaky Biker who said there's a thing if you put your helmet kind of
it was Speaky
in front of the bike, that means you need help. It's like if you pop your bonnet open, that means you're broken down.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that it's not just a kind of UK bikers or US bikers. It's a worldwide thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think, down here, almost every time you stroll over somebody, every time I stop to take a picture, even, if there's another biker coming, they at least slow down and try to check. And, I do the same. I found that I've used my flat repair gear as much on other people's bikes as I have on mine at this point. Because when I see somebody on the side of the road and check, it's always good to have that stuff. And a lot of people don't, or they don't have an electric pump with them or anything like that. So I've gotten a lot of use out of it.
Well, it's a good thing actually that you say that you have used it, because it's not something that you include in your videos. I know if you were Itchy Boots, you would have shown every single puncture, right, and made a big deal out of it. So how many? What's the count? How many flats have you had to deal with?
Let's see. I had 3 in Mexico, and then 2 now in South America. So I've had 5 total.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many sets of tires?
I'm actually just on my 2nd set, believe it or not. Well, not counting the set that was on the DR, because I put those miles on a different set. But when I rode across the U.S., I had a set strapped on my motorcycle, and I changed them in the southern part of the U.S. and then shipped it to Bogota. So they only had about 700 miles on them when I shipped it to Colombia, and they lasted all the way to Punta Arenas, where I put the new rear on. And
which is like how many thousand miles there?
Oh, probably 15, 16.
Oh wow,
1,000 miles. Yeah,
that's quite good going.
Yeah. When did you start this ride then? When did it all? How long have you been on the road?
I started last April initially to Mexico, and then I was home for about 7 weeks buying the new bike and getting it ready, and then I was back on the road. So other than that 7 weeks that I was home, I've been on the road since April.
Fantastic.
So coming up to a year now.
Coming up to a year, yeah. It's getting real close. It's kind of hard to believe, it's amazing the difference in how comfortable I am just doing a lot of stuff that when I first started out I was so nervous about.
Right.
And now it's just absolutely normal. Even I was, going to a restaurant and trying to figure out how to order in a foreign language and all of that stuff, was, you're so nervous about what they're going to think of you, and then you realize that, if you try a little bit and laugh and everybody has a smile, generally everybody appreciates it and it's good fun. And, now it's something I do every day, right? Is, I order food and I get hotel rooms and I get gas. So those are the only 3 things I can really say in Spanish because I do it every day.
What else do you need?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess if I was to ask you what was the sort of lowest point or the biggest disappointment, I'm gonna guess is having the bike stolen.
Maybe that morning it was. I think the actual lowest that I've been on this trip was when I was in Peru, and I had gone multiple days, and I was just tired of not being able to find anything open, not being able to find food, not being able to find breakfast anywhere, hotels not having breakfasts. I just had a real hard time with the northern coast of Peru and just the way everything worked and the amount of garbage. And I just wasn't having fun. I wasn't enjoying it. I was sick of it. I just wanted to be somewhere else. And I think that was the real low point. Other than when the bike got stolen, kind of, and once I had some help and I thought, there's a way out of this, I think I was over that, other than the initial shock. So the time in Peru was the real low point, because I was, multiple days of just not enjoying what I was doing.
Yeah, because you go out and you do these things just to enjoy, right? To see the world and to enjoy these locations, and then all of a sudden, if you find yourself in a place where you don't like it and you're not getting on, and I guess that's got to be. I'm not sure if it's a big fear, but I mean, maybe it's an aspect that people don't think about when they set off on an adventure, right? They think every day is going to be fantastic and they're going to see something new.
Yeah.
So was that like a shock to you that you found this place that you didn't like, or was that something that you had?
I mean, there's always going to be short bits of places you don't like. There's a city or a town or something like that you're not a fan of. But I was surprised for multiple days, and especially a lot of other travelers had told me that Peru was their favorite country in South America that they'd been in. But a lot of them were doing, the mountainous route through Cusco and Machu Picchu, the Sacred Valley, and all that area. Because of the timeline to try to meet my family in Santiago for Christmas, I sort of had to zip through Peru knowing that I'm coming back up through the north and I'll get to go do all that stuff on my way back north. So I took the faster, more direct route along the coast, and there was just nothing pleasant about it.
Okay. Well,
do you ever get homesick? That's the only question I've got. Do you ever get homesick? Like missing home?
Yes and no. I miss people at home. I miss getting to see my family and my friends. But it was nice. I've had a couple breaks because I went home after the bike was stolen, so I got to see people then. And then my family flew in at Christmas to Santiago, and so I got to spend a week with my family in Santiago. So that was nice. So I haven't gone the whole time without seeing people, which was nice. Yeah, okay. I miss my close. I do miss my close friends though, and just getting to go hang out and go get a beer with them. The thing about a trip like this is you find out that even when you're doing it alone, you're never lonely, because there's so many people around and everybody is so friendly, especially when they, when you're on a motorcycle that they don't see, because the CRF was never sold here. So they all know what it is. They've all seen Itchy Boots. They all know who she is. So they're so excited to see one in person that, every time I stop, somebody comes up to ask me where I'm from, if I bought the bike in the US, how long have I been on the road, all of that stuff. So
I expect they're hoping that you are Itchy Boots. I expect that they're waiting for the helmet to come off and this blonde hair fling out, and then they think, damn.
Yeah. What a disappointment when they see the gray beard.
What have you got against gray beards? What are you talking about? Okay, so so you met your family. You had Christmas with mom. Mom said, "Okay, you're okay. You're eating food."
Yeah.
She said, "You're too skinny. You're not eating well enough." That kind of stuff.
Well, I would say eating well is not the problem down here, especially in Argentina. You get steak every night, so
I think Argentina, if I'm not mistaken, is got the highest meat consumption per capita in the entire world.
Yeah, I won't doubt it.
I'm very surprised about that. I didn't know that.
And if you don't like meat, don't worry, because you can have chicken.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's not really a trip for vegetarians and vegans.
I mean, there's people who do it. I don't know how they do it, but it's going to be more difficult in Argentina than it is in other places, because I think they just kind of, if you tell them you don't eat meat, then they'll bring you chicken.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. My wife is vegetarian, and the first time I took her to Brazil, took her to a restaurant. We sit down, and I got to the waiter and says, "Look, we don't eat any meat." And she says, "Okay, chicken?" I said, "No chicken." "What about pork?" No. "What about fish?" "No." "What about shellfish?" "No." he was starting to get a bit desperate. I said, "Just bring me a four cheese pizza. It's fine."
I met up with a couple in Guadalajara that are from British Columbia, and they're riding south, but they're doing it in 2 years, so they're in Panama, I think, now, working their way down. But they're vegan, and they had cards printed up with pictures of like cheese, meat, milk, all that stuff, with a big red X on one side, and on the other side it had, lettuce, tomatoes, zucchini, cucumbers, and pictures of vegetables with a big check mark that they can show to people. But every once in a while they'll send me a really funny picture, because they'll have gone to a restaurant, and said, we want a pizza, but these are the things that we eat and these are the things they don't. And it's just kind of funny because they just kind of toss some random vegetables, like they'll cut cucumbers up and put them on the pizza like pepperonis, and then cook it and bring it out.
Yeah, that is a challenge. That is definitely a challenge, because it's getting better, but there's a lot of places in the world where still that's like mind blown. You don't need any of the stuff. How are you alive?
Yeah, and on all the big cities though down here, any city of size has some kind of vegan or vegetarian restaurant. It's common enough, even in the cities like Buenos Aires, Cordoba, Mendoza, all the cities like that. Yeah, there's plenty of vegetarian restaurants.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about the low point. Tell me about your highlights. What's the like the best thing ever on this trip?
The one that surprised me, I'd seen pictures of it, so I knew what I was going to see. But when you stand there and see the scale of it in person, was the Perito Moreno Glacier in Argentina. I've seen glaciers in Alaska and British Columbia, and things, but standing there and looking at that wall of ice and hearing it and watching it move, and seeing it calving, and it's absolutely incredible. I actually wish that I had gotten up earlier so I could have spent longer just sitting and watching it. I could have sat there for hours. It was incredible. Some of the other things, Torres del Paine, obviously is a huge tourist attraction. I knew that was going to be good, and it absolutely was. But you kind of expect that, when people say it's the prettiest national park in the world, you expect it to be really pretty. So Perito Moreno definitely exceeded my expectations.
Okay, so that's the glacier. So Argentina is kind of 2 for 2 in your best.
Yeah,
so
Argentina. The other one was the Carretera Austral was every bit as good as I had hoped that it would be. It was an incredible
So
ride.
that's the road that runs down the coast, down Chile.
Yeah, it's through Chilean Patagonia. It goes from Puerto Montt to Villa O'Higgins, and through Chilean Patagonia, and it is, from the minute you leave Puerto Montt, it is just every corner is new, amazing scenery, and you think you've seen everything, and then you go around the next corner, and it's some new, amazing view.
What is it like? Is it like mountains and valleys and rivers, or
mountains, valleys, rivers, glaciers, a bit of everything? Fjords, big lakes, everything.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's an amazing road through one of the most rugged and inhospitable places in the world.
When you say it's a road, is it a long road? Is it like a day trip to get through it?
No, It took us, I think, 8 days to do it.
8 days. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it's about 1,300 kilometers, but about 60 to 65% of it is still unpaved.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And there's 4 ferries that you have to catch and coordinate to do it, because the road is either gone or they couldn't build a road because some of the areas in the fjords were so rugged that they just put a ferry in because it was easier. So you kind of have that.
Stuck?
No. There's certain places where you have to, kind of stay the night because the ferry runs in the morning. So whenever you get there, you just book a hotel and then you get the ferry the next morning.
I guess you camped as well, did you? You did camping as well as hotels, did you?
I didn't do as much camping as I thought that I would.
Good man. I don't blame you. I hate it as well.
I brought my camping gear thinking, in my mind's eye, I imagined myself with these beautiful Patagonian landscapes and camping and waking up to that view. And then kind of the reality of it was the hotels are pretty cheap. You don't have to set it up. You can get food easily. And especially the Chilean side wouldn't have been so bad, except there was a lot more rain on that side because you're on the west coast. So all of that moisture from the Pacific is hitting there. When I got to Argentina, the wind is so bad it never lets up. The thought of putting my tent up in that wind was the last thing I wanted to do. So I had no desire to camp in Argentinian Patagonia, as beautiful as it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that wind from Patagonia is famous. I was telling you when I was growing up in Brazil, whenever the wind blew from the south, whenever it blew from Patagonia, everybody puts their sweatshirts on and said, "Oh my God, it's so cold." It's not really cold; it's cold for us, but it's famous. If the wind's blowing from the south, it's cold, for at least for Brazilians, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to learn, you can't really ride anywhere after 3 p.m. down there because the wind picks up in the afternoon. You have to get up early, move, get to a spot before 3 o'clock, and then hunker down and let the wind blow around low all afternoon. And we ended up, there was one spot where we got stuck because none of us were willing to ride our motorcycles for a day because the wind was so strong that nobody was willing to chance going out on a motorcycle.
So this is a seasonal thing, obviously, is it? This wind that happened.
I don't know that it's that seasonable. I think it's pretty consistent because it's a little spit of land with nothing else to block it, because there's it's this most southern little tip down there in the straits between Antarctica.
It's hard to imagine that, isn't it? Where we are now, to have a place where the wind is that bad. So whereabouts is it on that map then?
So if you look here towards the bottom where Argentina is, right towards the bottom, you've got the Malvinas, as they call it, or the Falklands there on the right, and that bit of Argentina up there. If you imagine, there's nothing between there and Antarctica. There's nothing. Yeah. There's nothing to the east of it, because if you keep going to the east, you're going to go past the southern tip of Africa. Africa is further north. So anything that blows from the south, anything that blows from the east, is unimpeded. It just comes across the ocean, and then it hits that little bit of land, and the Andes are to the west, so it's just flat land, and it just comes in unopposed, and that's it.
Yes,
nothing stopping it.
No. Oh wow.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you actually. Were you more surprised and pleased by the things you've seen, or would you say it's the people that you meet?
I think it's the people that I meet. As much as I remember the places I went, almost all of the places I have an association with a person that I met. In all of Latin America that I've been in, and everywhere, with very few exceptions, everybody is incredibly friendly and incredibly helpful, and generally interested in how I like their country, how I like their food, where I've come from, where I'm going. it seems quite genuine. You know, it's not the fake. Oh, how are you? Where are you going? You know, do you like the country? It's, you know, you can tell they take a lot of pride in wanting you to enjoy your time there and enjoy their country.
Okay, so generally a fairly positive experience with people, friendly, no issues with bandidos or anything like that.
No, you know, I mean, when you're
apart from the scrote who stole your bike.
Yeah, apart from the guy who stole my bike, you know, other than that, in some of the cities, occasionally, you know, you have a drunk person, you know, but that's any city in the world. That doesn't matter where you're at.
It's quite normal. Yeah.
Shall we look at some of the pictures that you sent me, and maybe we can talk us through it. You sent me some photos. This looks like Torres del Paine.
It's actually not. That's El Chalten and Mount Fitzroy, which is just a little bit north of Torres del Paine on the Argentina side. And that's one of my favorite pictures, and one that I really wanted. Many years ago, I saw a picture before the road was paved of this mountain with a rider and a big dust cloud behind him, and that mountain in the view. And that was always one of the big check marks that I wanted to go see. And the road's paved now, but I found that there's this dirt road where I stopped for this picture that's just outside of town, and it ends up with that view of the mountain. So I was very glad that I got the picture of me with the big mountain behind me.
So is that the road? You actually on the road? That's the road. That's what the road is like, or is that like a parking area?
No, that's the road. So it's a lot of, you know, kind of river stones and things like that to get out to that viewpoint. But it wasn't too bad. Once you find the right speed and that stuff, then the bike is kind of stabilizes. It's just finding that speed.
So it's kind of going between sort of big rock and big rock, right? So it's kind of at the right speed. It's just like smooth.
Yeah, the front wheel kind of wants to do this a little bit, and you get too fast, and then you can't, you know, it happens too quick, and you find that right speed, and it's kind of, you can feel it kind of stabilize a bit in the handlebars, and then it just goes.
Okay. And then is this Perito Moreno?
Yeah, that's the Perito Moreno Glacier.
Cool.
And again, the photos don't do it justice in person. It's really awe-inspiring. It's incredible.
So just to put things to scale, how tall are those the top of the ice cap there?
I think they said the top of the ice is 150 meters.
Is it? Yeah.
And the face of it from side to side is about 1 kilometer.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, it looks great there, but like you're saying, unless you've actually been there, it's different again, isn't it? But even that, you know, is it's quite hard to imagine. Really,
I'm gonna guess it's a sight, but from what from the stories I've read, and it's also the noise that it makes.
Yeah, it's the noise that it makes and the cracking, and, you know, you hear stuff in big splashes, and, you know, it's just amazing. And the amount of different shades of blue and different colors in it is incredible. It's something else.
And is that did they talk about anything about how has it been progressing in terms of climate change? Has it receded a lot, or?
Actually, this is one of the few exceptions. This one is growing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it has actually grown over the last 20 years. It's gotten closer to where the viewing area is. It used to be back a little bit farther.
Did they explain kind of why they think that's happening?
I don't. I think the closest explanation I heard was just kind of the way the weather patterns worked is the warmer weather brought more moisture, and it's still cold enough that it gathers more snow because more moisture is coming in. But if it heats up too much farther, then it's going to be a warming trend instead of bringing more snow.
Okay. Okay. So more warmth in the ocean brings in more moisture, which goes on top of it and then pushes it further. Cool. And then is that ice all around you?
No, that's marble. Those are the marble
wow.
caves in Rio Tranquilo, Chile. This is one of the stops on the Carretera Austral, and you can take a boat out and go through into the caves. And it's really, really, again, it's incredibly pretty when you see it in person and see the colors and all the different sparkles and stuff in that marble. It's incredible.
Oh wow. And that water looks pretty clear as well.
Yeah, and when you look down the sides of that with that white marble and the blue water, it's almost like looking, into a bathtub with the white sides and the reflection. It's amazing.
Does that put a big dent in the budget then? Is that an expensive trip to do? Hire a boat and?
No, I think it was $15 US or so, something like that.
Oh yeah, that's nothing, is it?
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half, just a quick, boat ride out there and then through them and then back.
Is that something you found by accident or something that you planned in the beginning of the trip?
I had planned it. I have a very sizable. I can actually show you here. I have a very sizable list of points. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, okay.
Of points,
like
yeah,
Google Maps.
on my Google Maps, and I try to, just kind of, when I'm in an area, I try to pick ones that I want to go see and other things that I hear about. When I hear about it, I drop a point. So this was one of the ones that I had already had a point dropped on before I left that I knew I wanted to see.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Yes, cool.
And some of the special people here?
Yeah, this was actually at the hostel in Cordoba just not too long ago. And we all went and bought, a whole bunch of meat and barbecued it and hung out. But this is, a lot of how I spend my evenings in a lot of places is, especially if you're in a hostel, just hanging out with a bunch of people and practicing Spanish and, telling jokes and laughing. That's most nights.
Cool. What else have we got here?
Yeah, so this is actually the very end of the road. This is an abandoned Coast Guard station called Estancia Moat. It's about 90 kilometers south of Ushuaia.
Okay.
Down a dirt road, and it is the farthest south anywhere in the world that a vehicle can get to. The only way to go farther south is to get on a military transport to Antarctica. So that.
Okay, so so the next thing is get a boat, and next stop is Antarctica.
Yeah. There's a couple islands out there, but none of them have a drivable road that's any farther south than this, even on the islands. So this is it. That's the end of the world. So it's funny because you get there and there's nothing there, and you kind of take it in for a few minutes and realize what you did, and then you turn around and realize how much farther you have to go to get back home.
Yes, I want to get back to civilization. And then I took this as a screen grab from I think one of your latest videos, because I just thought it was amazing. You had this amazing road which was just snaking around this mountain, and then you stopped, and then I said, okay, tell me about this, because this looks beautiful. Yeah,
it was a beautiful. I didn't know it was there. I didn't plan the ride because I saw that stretch of road. So that was a good surprise. But it was beautiful. Yeah, I mean, there was probably 20, 25 of those switchbacks just climbing up that hill from the valley. It was just a fun ride.
It looked like you were going at a fairly good pace as well. I was, it looked like a lot of fun. It just looked like a motorbiker's dream, really.
Yeah, well, and on the 250, you've got to go through the corners with speed because you're not getting up the hill with throttle.
Is a 250 one of the bikes that you have reviewed, Steve?
No, was it a Suzuki that you had, wasn't it?
No, this is a Honda CRF 250.
Oh, the 250. No, I've ridden the 250 off road. Yeah, on the trial stay. But no, I've ridden the 300. Yeah, which is one that I put on the video. So it's a heck of a machine. But
Yeah, I think that extra 4 or 5 horsepower that the 300 has would make a significant difference over.
It really does. It's a total different bike than the 250. Yeah, for sure.
But it's been great.
While we're on that, Dewey, how does it feel going from the 650 down to the 250? Did you feel a big leap and a bit of a, you know, drop?
I noticed the lack of power and especially the lack of torque. The DR has a lot of torque, which was nice. But I really think that the Honda is an all-around better chassis. I have the rally raid suspension on it, which is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And the combination, it's so much easier to ride, especially off-road, than the DR was. And I had upgraded the suspension on the DR as well, so it wasn't like it was, I'm comparing, pretty decent aftermarket on both sides. But that 20, 30 years of development and chassis development shows.
And you got to stir the gearbox a lot more, haven't you, on the CRF? You got to go up and down the gears a lot quicker.
You've got to shift a lot. For the most part, you just realize that I'm going whatever speed I'm going, and
it's no rush.
Generally, the only time it's kind of frustrating is there was some times when I had really strong headwinds, and when you're limited to 40 miles an hour at full throttle in third gear into a headwind, it's like I could use a little bit more power here. But otherwise, generally, the 250 is one of the fastest vehicles on the road, unless I'm on a big freeway where there's actual, cars that are going at some kind of speed. But in any kind of twisty.
Let's pretend that the 650 came back tomorrow and they said, "Here's the keys. Here's your bike back. What are you going to carry on with, the CRF or the 650?"
I would take the CRF. I would probably sell the 650 or put it in storage.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The ease of being able to ride some of the dirt roads it's so nice to have a bike that's easy and light on that stuff.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Fantastic. Okay. Are there any big lessons learned, Dewey, would you say? Is there anything that you kind of learned as you went on this trip that that was like a surprise? Or
it's I think one of the big things is watching people in Latin America and how much they enjoy life and little things in life. I think that's been one of my favorite things is, when you pull up into a small town and you go walk around the town square and there's families sitting in there having picnics and, a little live band playing in the gazebo and everybody's dancing and just enjoying being together and spending time with their family and their community, and loving every minute of it. You can tell they're so happy doing that. I think that's a lesson that's going to stick with me, along with the, watching. One of my favorite things was it was more prevalent in Mexico and Colombia than farther south. But every Sunday night, everybody goes and does parade laps around the main square, and on their motorcycle, their horse, in their car, whatever. It's like the thing to do is go cruise around the main square, and you see guys and the guys with the horses, just strutting and going around the square on their horse, and it's so much fun to watch, and just it's a good reminder to sometimes just slow down and enjoy life a little bit. Everything doesn't have to be in such a hurry. It doesn't have to be curated fun. You don't have to spend $50 on a ticket to have fun. You can go have fun for free.
Yeah.
Is that because sorry, no, carry on.
Go on.
I was going to say, is that because their lives are simpler? They don't have the complications and the materialistic options that we have and we chase in this Western culture, so to speak?
I probably think so. The idea of spending, $150 for a ticket to Disneyland, right, is so far out of the reach for them, right? That's not going to be something they're ever going to go do or want to, so they don't have a lot of other entertainment options. So that's what you do.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think it's also, I was going to ask a similar question, but I think it's also, they're still much more kind of integrated into the community. They still probably know all their neighbors and talk to their neighbors. Whereas over here, I know my neighbors either side, but I don't really know everybody else that lives on the street, because you all have separate lives, because you all go home and watch Netflix or YouTube, and you all kind of go and live separate things, which is something that we've lost. It's like sort of community spirit and being centered around the family.
Yeah, and especially the extended family. They spend a lot of time, with big family gatherings. That's a big thing. You'll go to these parks and you'll see, 40 people all there for their family, for somebody's birthday or whatever the reason is that they're out celebrating.
And it's 3 or 4 generations together, right? It's the grandmother, the kids, the grandchildren, sometimes the great grandchildren.
Yeah,
but that's what we all want over here, isn't it? We all want to be like that, but we're all so busy trying to pay our taxes, and keep normal life going and paying the bills and all that. And it just seems to be going the wrong way. It's not getting better. We're getting more divided rather than being pulled together. And I don't want to get you on politics, Noob, because I know you'll be here all night. So, but it is, we're getting more divided all the time, as opposed to being pulled together. And this is where this sort of adventure travel comes in. What Dewey's doing is really the best education that any child could get, is to go on the road and do what he's doing and live the way that he's living, and learn that, because that life skill you'll have for the rest of your time. I'll probably never be able to do that. I wish I could. I probably don't want it enough, and I've got other things going on. But what you've learned here is priceless, to having a good life, really.
It is. I think it's good to have perspective. We often in the West have a superiority complex about how everything we do and everything in our culture is superior to the rest of the world, because we have a lot of money and we have a lot of things, and that doesn't always make it better. There's some things that we're very good at and that are great in our society, and there's some that we could learn lessons from other places, and it's important to go see those places and learn those lessons.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in our last days or whatever, what matters are people, isn't it? It's none. All that materialistic stuff is nothing, absolutely nothing. It's the people that you meet along the way, and you're picking them up, every day now, aren't you? So fantastic, good on you.
I'm not going to disagree with you at all, Steve. And I was going to say, on top of what you said, is the biggest thing that you could do for a kid. I would also say is go and actually meet the actual people, because we tend to be, especially where we are, especially I don't, but if you watch the news, in the US or over here in Europe, any news about Mexico, Latin America is going to be about drug cartels, violence, people being killed, thieves, bandits, etc. And you go and see the actual reality and say, I'm just getting fed a whole bunch of bullshit by the media. The reality is the people are the same, as they're friendly, they're interested, all they want is the same thing that I want. They want to have health, they want to have family, they want to have peace and quiet, and it's the same all over the world.
Yeah, and it's the politicians and the media that kind of ruin that and paint a picture which isn't really there. They're painting one side of it, 2% of it.
Yeah. Well, sensationalism is what sells, so they try to make everything sensational. And I one of the funniest conversations I had was actually when I was in Sinaloa, which is a quite famous name. And
say Sinaloa, people say, yo, Sinaloa cartel.
Right. And
and I'll say I'd have no idea what you're on about, but carry on.
Yeah. And it was Tomek and I, and it was our first night in Sinaloa, and we were both a little nervous, and we asked the lady at the hotel if it was safe for us, because it was after dark when we got there, and we asked her if it was safe for us to walk to go get dinner, after dark. And she laughed, and she's like, there's kids running around and playing soccer in the street, there's kids selling kittens on the corner, and everybody's out at restaurants. They're like, of course it's safe, you know. And and other people told us, in Sinaloa that we're probably safer there than a lot of places because the cartel knows we're there. If we're going looking for trouble, you can find it. But if you're not, they don't want anything to do with you, and they're gonna, and they don't want anybody. They don't want anybody to mess with you either because they don't want, the U.S. State Department or the UK State Department involved if something happens to you while you're down there. So everybody told us, stay out of a couple mountainous regions, and you're completely fine. Nothing's going to happen.
But Bubblegum Simulator Kid. Have you been there, Bubblegum Simulator Kid? That doesn't seem to chime with the experience that Dewey had. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think it's very like with anything travel, it makes me wonder where my kids are. I mean, my oldest now is 17, and he's very much he's learning to drive, but he wants a motorbike more than he so he goes on about every day. But what's it going to be like in 20 years' time, in their lifetime, when we've seen arguably a simpler life? Is it going to be the same in their time, when everything's trying to go electric? Travel's going to become more difficult, arguably, and that's my concern. Are we the last of the travelers?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know. It's hard to know what the future infrastructure looks like. I have noticed, a lot of the very young generation is sort of looking back at our childhoods enviously, and I think they're trying to become more simple and less dependent on the technology and the way we are in being able to do stuff. I think they want a little bit of a simpler life because they've been bombarded with this stuff since they were born.
Yeah. My kids are always talking about 1980s, the music, the way of life, the films that were coming out. Yeah,
you brought them up well. You brought them up well, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to the Future. I'm in there. Yeah.
So, one of the guys that you met over there on your travels, one of the Brazilian guys, André. Yeah. He reached out to me earlier today, and he said on Instagram, and he asked me to ask you to tell us about the old ladies excursion.
I like the sound of this.
Apparently, you're a big hit with the old ladies.
It wasn't really me as much. We stopped at a waterfall on the Carretera Austral at a viewpoint, and there was this big tour bus there, and we pulled into the viewpoint. There's 5 motorcycles, I think. It was me, another American, Andre and his wife were on their motorcycle, and another Brazilian, Cristiano, on a Harley. And everybody on this tour bus, they were all women, and they were all probably 70s and 80s, and maybe old. Some of them might have been older, and they could have cared less about the waterfall the moment we showed up. They are taking pictures of us. They want selfies with us. They're asking if they can sit on the bikes. They're asking to wear our helmets. One lady she has my jacket on. She put my helmet on. She wanted my gloves to get a picture of her on the motorcycle. And
take me home, young man.
Yeah, and then I forgot that I had my music still on, my Bluetooth. So she puts it on and she starts dancing and she takes it off and música. Tiene música en tu casa.
Wonderful story.
Yeah,
where were they from? They were Chileans? They were locals?
Yeah, they were Chileans from Santiago, I think, that had taken. We're doing a bus tour down, and really the big hit was the other American, Tyre. Everywhere he goes, he attracts the ladies on the tour buses. Just flock to him. I don't know what it is.
Could say the wrong ones. Maybe a different generation might have been better, but
yeah. It was a fun time. You could tell that it, genuinely made their day to see all these motorcycles, and then have us all, and then they're all checking out the license plates, to see one from Colorado and Oregon and Brazil. They were.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, they loved it, and that was by far more interesting than the waterfall was. And they'd probably seen 10 waterfalls that day, but we were the only group of motorcyclists that they got to talk to and interact with.
Yeah.
Cool. We've got some questions in the chat here, so maybe let's go through a few of them. How do I pronounce this? Is it Moto Travels? Is that how I pronounce it? What's your impression on Brazil? I think it's a bit too early with this one. Have you been?
Yeah.
You haven't gotten to Brazil yet, right?
I haven't been into Brazil yet. The Brazilians I've met along the way have been fantastic. They're some of the most friendly people.
Yeah, but you would say that with noob here, wouldn't you?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not just because noobs here.
Bloody Brazilians get everywhere.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not sure how far north I'm going to go into Brazil. But yeah, I've been talking with Andre about some planning and route planning and things like that. So yeah, we'll get it figured out, and we'll see how much time I spend there. But I'm looking forward to it because yeah, all the Brazilians I've met, are there. We have such a good time. It'll just be a whole new struggle with Portuguese versus Spanish. So.
Yeah, it's similar, but it's very different. But they'll appreciate you trying.
Yeah, I'll learn a couple of phrases, and have to rely on the Google Translate a lot, I think, or try in Spanish and hope they understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When you did Brazil, are you going to go down the coast all the way down, or what? Have you got a plan for it yet, or?
There's some mountains in southern Brazil. There's a mountainous region that has it looks like some incredible roads and views. We want to do that. Andres tells me there's a few beaches that I absolutely need to go to and spend some time, drinking fruity drinks and watching women in bikinis on the beach in Brazil.
Oh, so. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. He says I've got to go do that. So
it'll be good for views on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll see. I don't know how far yet. It'll kind of depend on some timing. There's some things that I want to do, like Uyuni in Bolivia. And there's
that's the salt flats, right?
That's the salt flats. But there's certain months when that's the right time to go and months when it's not the right time to go. And so I need to kind of work backwards when I need to be there and see how long I can spend in other places.
So
I'll get
right up. Question from the Bubblegum Simulator Kid. Have you ever gone on tour in a foreign country?
I'd love to, but no, I haven't.
Not even Wales or Cornwall?
No, not on a bike. No, not on a bike. No, I mean I've been to Cyprus, I've been to Tenerife and hired bikes, but I've never done a tour. I'd love to, but I'm just not in that place at the moment in my life. I've got a young family, and that's number one. And
That's cool. Yeah, obviously I went to France last year. You can watch the videos. It was a bit wet. Motor ramblings. So, Dewey, the big question: are you going to move to Brazil?
Well, it depends on if Andre and Alessandra get their way, and if they introduce me to one of her friends. We'll find out.
Okay. So possible romance, but possible romance in the. In fact, there was a question I kind of wanted to ask. Is there any room for romance, or is it something that you look for, or is it something that you try to avoid, or is it just something that has it happened?
No, I haven't really looked. My language skills are kind of limited in that regard.
They speak a different language anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, I haven't really tried. I'm certainly not opposed to if I met somebody and it was I'll see what happens. But, for a lot of it, it was focused on trying to make sure that I, got from point A to point B first, and then,
Okay.
we'll see. Now that I'm on the way back, it's kind of the plan is to just kind of go as slow as the money holds out and spend as much time down here as I can before I have to be home. So now I can.
How's that
really
going to feel when you get home and you've been doing all this wonderful travel, meeting all these people, and then you're going to go back to normal? Are you dreading that, or?
I think it's going to be a very massive adjustment, and a lot of people who have done this said that that's one of the hardest times is going back. There's some things that I do look forward to. I do enjoy my work, and having a routine and structure of doing that would be nice again. But I'll see. I think it's going to be hard to go from this constant sensory input of just amazing things almost every day to go back to the same thing and not having that. I probably have some high level dopamine addiction at this point because I'm just bombarded by amazing things all the time.
And does your gut feeling feel that you're going to have unfinished business? Are you going to think you'll get home, save up the money, and as soon as you can get out on the road again?
I don't think it'll be as soon as I can. I think that I will probably work for a number of years because I enjoy it, and some, retain some stability, retain the resume, all of that stuff before I think about doing it again. I mean, I'm always going to be doing some kind of travel, but not like this. It might be 3 weeks or a month type of trips, but yeah, it'll probably be quite a while before I think about doing something like this, unless financially I end up in a spot where we're doing it more of a full-time type thing becomes an option. But I don't know that I foresee that happening.
You're very lucky that you've got a job which you do enjoy like that, really.
Yeah. And, there's maybe some options. I can, do some consulting and contract work with my industry. So, and do it remotely. So, there's maybe chances of doing something where I work for 3 months and then travel for 3 months and then stop somewhere and work for 3 months and so on. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I'll get home. I'll see my friends. I'll feel normal for a little bit and then decide what I want to do. Now's not the time to make those decisions. I have plenty of time for that.
And this was always the plan that you had. Was it to do the trip that you're doing, to go through Chile and then into Brazil and then back home, or was it kind of evolved?
No, my initial one was that I wanted to go to the south and get back to about Buenos Aires, and I was hoping to ship my bike from here to Spain or somewhere in Europe, and maybe start doing some touring around Europe and maybe go east a bit. But the money for shipping the motorcycle and all that stuff, and for paying for being in Europe, which is quite a bit more expensive than being in Latin America, just daily costs for fuel and food and things. Yeah, when the bike got stolen, the budget for that kind of went to buy the new bike to be able to keep doing my trip on the new bike.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a shame. Yeah.
Okay. And Andrea, I think he must be half time or something. He's come back with a question. So, what do I do to get back to work after such a wonderful trip like we had at the Carretera? I'm translating here for you.
Yeah. I don't know what you did, Andre, because I think I make it hard on you because I keep sending you pictures of all these places while you're at work every day that I'm showing you where I'm at. You could tell us how did you adjust to it after your trip, because you had a pretty amazing trip too, just slightly shorter than mine.
Okay. So if you had to pick a bike to go on tour, what would it be?
Depends on the tour and where.
Okay, let's say a tour USA.
Across the US, if I was not doing something like the Trans-America Trail or a bunch of BDRs, because that's a different way of traveling. For an actual tour across the US, I would probably honestly get like a Goldwing or a big touring bike and be comfortable for all of those really long miles. I think there's a place for big bikes for sure. especially in places like, Germany, the US, places where you can be on very high speed roads, and it's nice to be able to go the speed of traffic and be comfortable for long miles. But the more, as you start adding more and more dirt into that, then then the weight wants to come down, and the size and the weight is going to be the limiting factor for what most of us can ride off-road, or how difficult the off-road we can take on. Most of us aren't Chris Birch. We can't ride those big motorcycles through that stuff. We need a small one to be able to have a chance.
Knowing what you both know, it's one for both of you, really. Cost-wise, obviously Europe, I would imagine, is quite expensive compared to Brazil, Argentina to travel in. Is that right? Or does it balance out?
Yeah, and with some exceptions. I don't know if things have changed in the last few years. When I was in Spain last time, Spain was pretty reasonable for accommodations and food compared to places like France and Germany. And down here, Chile is quite expensive compared to the entire rest of South America. And Craig Shush Motor Travels might be able to speak up, because they were just in Costa Rica. I believe Costa Rica and maybe Panama are also quite a bit more expensive than a lot of the other Central American and Latin American countries.
Yeah, I think it depends. It depends where you go. Certainly, I think Germany, Switzerland are going to be very expensive. Italy's going to be expensive. Portugal probably a bit cheaper. I mean, I was just watching Uncle Longbeard. He just did a 24-day tour through Italy, and I think he was saying, because he was staying, basically finding cheap places to stay and even camping, and I think he came to about 60 euros a day. He averaged out. Right. So that's quite reasonable, but it depends on whether you're prepared to camp. It depends what kind of accommodation you're going to put up with. Yes. If you're just going to hire a room and then have to go out to the shops and cook for yourself, you're going to keep costs down. If you want to stay in a more comfortable place with your own private bathroom and have dinner out every day, it's going to get more expensive. So,
I guess if you buy a tour, so to speak, go to a tour site, and at least you know where you are. There's a lot of the unknown when you are just doing adventure travel, I guess. Maybe that's part of the fun of it. I don't know, but yeah, maybe that's where the tours come in handy.
I think for a lot of people, if you've never just shown up at places without knowing where you're going and booking a hotel, it's out of your comfort zone. When you get used to it, it's the normal comfort zone. You realize there's always a hotel.
That is definitely outside of my comfort zone, but it's something I'm going to try to learn, and practice, and just go out, maybe just for a long weekend, where I'm just going to head out and I don't know where I'm going to stay, and then come a certain time in the evening, I'm going to say, okay, let me find something, and then I'll see how I can start coping with it.
Yes. I'd like to do that. I'd like to chuck myself in the deep end and just go out, see what happens.
And there's some tricks that you learn, the later into the evening you show up at places, the more rooms are going to be booked out. If you get there at 3 p.m, there's going to be more chance of a room being available. So I generally always try to stop pretty early and find a hotel, so that if the first 2 are fully booked, that I can go to the third one and find it.
Yeah. Whereas when I was in France, I had booked everything ahead, and so it didn't matter. So some places I got there at 8 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a reservation,
but I had to get there at 8 p.m. because I already paid for it.
Yeah, which is a different stress. You have the stress of not knowing where you're going to sleep, but if you get stuck behind, or something happens, you have the stress of feeling like you have to be somewhere. Yeah,
and I was just thinking, I was just thinking with your trip, Nee, but I reckon that was as hard as it gets, really, because not only was it raining constantly all the way through the trip, but you were really ill, weren't you? You pretty much had the flu bug, didn't you? So that doesn't get harder than that.
I got over it after a couple of days. I just said, I don't care anymore. I'm going to pop a parasite. That was a mistake, right? Again, if I hadn't booked ahead, I probably wouldn't have gone.
Well,
Because
exactly.
I said I've already paid for the tickets, I've already paid for the accommodation. I am going.
Yes, like we all would. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was as tough as it gets, being that ill and constantly raining. Not particularly warm either, was it? It was quite cold in places as well.
I had like a combination of factors. But anyway, let's not talk
It's
about
almost
my
like your
trip.
nightmare holiday, really.
I look. You've got to enjoy it, right? You've got to enjoy the trip.
Of course.
You've got to enjoy the challenge. Otherwise,
What's the point?
you can't just go. You can't just go for the fantastic photos. You actually have to enjoy getting there.
And you'll appreciate the next one more now, won't you? When it's nicer and you'll,
hopefully.
Yeah.
So Trish is asking if you're going to ship to Panama.
That is the hope. As of now, I still have not gotten the okay from Mexico to come back into the country with a vehicle. I filed all the paperwork with the customs legal office in Mexico, and they said it will take up to a year for us to process this. We will send you a letter and let you know.
That must be so frustrating.
Yeah, they'll send me a letter. So it'll go to I put my sister's address in. So it'll go to my sister, and she'll call me if she gets something from Mexico, and we'll see what it says. If I'm allowed back in Mexico by the time I'm ready to ship the bike, the plan is to go to Panama and hopefully do the stuff that I missed. If I'm not allowed back in Mexico, it doesn't make a lot of sense to try to ship the bike to Panama because it's 500 kilometers or something from Panama to the Mexico border. There's not a lot there. There's just a lot of really small countries.
Okay, so that's because you had imported your bike into Mexico and you got stolen there, and you had to report it stolen. So now they're going to say, well, if you try to bring another bike, then we're going to think that you are illegally importing motorcycles into Mexico.
Right. Yeah. When I brought the bike in, I paid a small deposit, and you basically sign paperwork saying that I don't have to pay any import taxes on it because I'm going to leave with the motorcycle in a specified amount of time. Whether that's 90 days or 180 days or whatever the timeline is. And I left the country without checking the motorcycle back out. So that's why I had to file all the legal stuff showing that my bike was stolen. I didn't intend to leave without the motorcycle. Here's all the proof that the bike was stolen. Here's all the police reports, all the stuff. But apparently that process goes slow. So hopefully at some point I hear back.
So frustrating.
You must be going through 5 different desks of people retyping your stuff into new paper or something.
No, I based on the way that it went making that document, I don't know that they're even typing it. They may be, handwriting it at this point. And then it goes into the big stack on somebody's inbox, and waits for months.
Yeah. And then somebody bumps against the desk and it all falls on the ground. And
we'll see. That's that'll be what it is. If not, I have some hopeful alternative stuff. I just got to work out the timing and things that I can do on my way back.
Where did you buy the CRF? Was that in Mexico? Was it or
no? I bought it back in Oregon. I looked into buying a motorcycle in Mexico, and it was going to be almost impossible. We could have done it, but it would have been very difficult to leave Mexico with it.
Right. Yeah.
To go through all the countries, and then in the U.S., I don't know if it's the same over there, but our vehicle titling and registration is state to state. It's not federal. So for me to buy a vehicle in another state, I can do it, but the paperwork has to go back to Oregon and then be sent, and it takes a long time. Whereas if I went back to Oregon, I could buy the bike and have the paperwork done on the spot because I'm in my home state. So it was much easier to just go home and buy a bike because of the paperwork involved to get a title and all that stuff issued.
So when you say you went back home from Mexico, are you saying you got the CRF and then you had to drive back to Mexico?
No, I flew out of Mexico. I flew from Mexico City back home. Bought the CRF in Oregon, and then rode to Miami, Florida, and then shipped it from Miami to Bogota.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. What a pain.
Yeah,
Because
it was an experience.
it's much more complicated over here. We're kind of spoiled, I guess, in the UK, because we can just get on the tunnel, get into the or on a ferry, getting to the continent. There's no paperwork, nothing, and then once you're in the continent, you can go country to country without even going through a border control.
Yeah.
So I guess if you go further afield, then you might start getting those more complicated paperwork. But yeah, we're very spoiled and very lucky here that we can.
While we're on that, Noob, whilst you've had this experience of doing a bit in Europe, so I could get up tomorrow, I could get my passport, and providing I could get on the tunnel, I could literally get into France. Is that right? And then on to Germany just as easy, or do you have to pay?
Yeah.
Or
no? There's nothing to pay. Well, there's obviously the toll charges on the motorways. You obviously have to make sure that you have insurance.
Yes,
but they're still accepting that you don't have to even get the carnet de passage. They thought you might need to do that after Brexit, but they've done away with that. So it's just as easy as hop on your bike, off you go.
Really? Wow. And how much does it cost to go on the tunnel over to France now? I know it's going to be approximate.
Depends, about maybe 150.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fine, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we kind of talked a bit about your future plans as well, right? So you're now going to go a little bit into Brazil, meet with the friends you made, come back to northern Argentina, and then travel up through Bolivia, which you haven't done yet.
Up through Bolivia, which I haven't done yet, yeah, and then into Peru and do hopefully the good part of Peru that I missed with the Sacred Valley and Cusco and all the mountains and all the beautiful stuff, and hopefully I have a much different experience than the first time.
So it's going to be more sort of the high mountains and the some of the Amazonian areas of Peru.
Right, yeah, some of the Amazonian areas, the high mountains, all of the Inca stuff. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that, and then once again into Ecuador and then Colombia again. From Colombia, I'll decide what's next.
And if Mexico have gone through the paperwork, then you might be able to continue through Panama.
Yep, yeah, that would be ideal. Is to get to ride all the way back home and complete it. March 24th. I will not be in Cusco by then, because that's like a week away. So
better get your skates on.
Yeah, no, I'm probably more like May or June to be in.
What are we talking mileage wise here? Because I've got no idea on the size of these places that you're going. So how many miles is it? Where are you going to be in May? For example.
Well, it depends on the route you take, but to put it into perspective, the Route of 40 here in Argentina is about, I think it's about 6,000 kilometers long. The road the length of Argentina, and Brazil is obviously a massive country. It's like the fifth largest country in the world, or something like that by land mass. So you can cover huge distances if you pick a route that goes through the long ways. I take a lot of meandering routes though, so the mileage is not a straight route. So I bounce around a lot.
So so most of this year you're going to be traveling, is that right?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you haven't got a sort of end date as such?
Roughly? No, not as such. I have some, maybe dream times. I'd like to maybe be able to get back, maybe in the springtime when the weather's not so bad back home versus the winter.
Yes,
but we'll see. We'll see if that works out in the timing. I'll see.
And here's a silly question: what's winters like when it gets to winter time in? Well, I guess Brazil. You'll be later on this year. What are the winters like there? Are they freezing, or are they still relatively warm?
Well, a lot of the tropical
Probably a
places,
dumb question, this, so forgive
yeah,
me. I have
a
no
lot of the
idea.
tropical places, you don't have winter as such. You have
Right.
kind of wet seasons and dry seasons, and Noob would know better. Maybe in some of the mountains and other regions, it might be more variable, but I think they're pretty moderate temperature-wise. It's just wet and how much moisture they get.
Where you are right now, sort of Buenos Aires and the southern tip of Brazil, Uruguay, it can get pretty cold. You can get pretty cold. You can get snow and ice, and you can definitely get a frost in the morning, and in some cases you can get snow. But also remember, it's not just the cold; it's that wind that you've experienced with the cold is going to come up. Further up as you get more into the tropics, as you get kind of Sao Paulo south. Sao Paulo is one of the tropics. I think the Tropic of Cancer goes through that.
Yeah.
South of that is more temperate. It's a bit more like Europe, and the further south you get, it's going to get colder and colder. Above that, as you go, it's more tropical, so it's going to be it's a little bit cooler. But in fact, the rainy season is what they just had, right? Around February, March is the rainy season. It's this kind of summer, a lot of evaporation, a lot of rain comes down. Then it gets kind of drier in the winter, as it were.
What sort of gear are you wearing, Dewey, for that, for the rain and things like that? Have you got a rain suit and stuff like that, or?
I have Gore-Tex pants and a Moscow Gore-Tex jacket.
Oh yeah.
And then I wear separate armor under it, so when it's hot, I still have the armor on. I throw a motocross jersey on it instead of wearing the jacket, so I get a lot of airflow. But I still have some protection.
Yes.
Yeah,
oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. In hindsight, I saw another gentleman here who had the adventure spec trousers, and I really wish I had gone with those. They look so comfortable in the warmer weather.
Yeah, big money.
That would have been
Big money,
the way
no
to
doubt.
go. Yeah, I thought they might be a little too warm, but he said, he's fine in it, and the heat is way better than just the ventilation on my Revit stuff. So I think I'd go that route if I did it again.
And are you heavily loaded on your bike, or do you travel quite light?
No, I'm fairly heavily loaded. I have a lot of electronics, with the drone, the laptop, all the cameras, and then camping gear plus clothing. So it adds up.
And do you find doing the YouTube stuff a bit of a pain in the ass, or having to stop and think I've got to get something out, or
part of it has been good, actually. It gives me a routine to work on. I try to spend an hour each evening before bed doing some editing on that week's video, and as long as I do that, it takes me 4 to 6 hours usually is about the maximum it takes me to do a video. So if I do that every day, then I get the video out every week. And so that structure's been good, because it's tough going from the way most of us live to having zero structure in your life.
Yes.
other than loading your motorcycle and making sure that everything's packed in the same order.
Finding decent Wi-Fi, is that ever a problem?
No, sometimes it's a problem. Yeah. It's usually just the occasional place that's trouble, where to the point where I can't upload a video or something like that.
Yeah.
Really, the only time I absolutely need Wi-Fi is to upload the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, if the Wi-Fi is bad, I have cellular data, and anything I need to look at, I can use the cellular data and just look at it on my phone.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Anything else anybody wants to ask? I'm just looking at the clock, and I know we usually keep it to an hour. We've gone over an hour and a half. I'm really enjoying the conversation.
Me too.
Well, and then maybe this is a good way to say, maybe further on after you've been to Brazil, we can hook up again and do another one. I think I'd love to kind of get your viewpoint on Brazil and how you got on with that. Very interested in that. But otherwise, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's joined today, especially to you, Dewey, for taking time from your trip. Thanks, Accelerator, for kind of joining and helping.
Thank you, man. That's been an honor. Thank you very much.
Great questions. I'd like to thank everybody who's been on the live on the audience as well, commenting. I know we've had a few had to drop off because it's kind of getting late here, 10:30, and people have their cocoa and bedtime routines. They have to wake up tomorrow morning early and go to work. But I find it really enjoyable. Thank you everybody for joining. And I'm going to try to do one of these every month. We'll see how it goes. I've lined up next month. The date's yet to be decided, but Gregor from Refuel Ride Race, I think is going to be on a live stream. And then maybe because he's in Europe, we might do it at an earlier time to allow it to go on. But I've really enjoyed it. I'm really enjoying following the videos from your trip. Every week, it's like, I think it's a Thursday or a Friday when it comes out, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to watch. That's what I want to watch. I
appreciate that.
No, and keep up the great work. Keep enjoying yourself. Keep meeting nice people and seeing nice things. And I will travel vicariously through your videos for now. And hopefully one day, I'll get a chance to do something similar. But anybody who's watched, if you haven't already done so, you got to stop missing out. Go and check out Do Your Rides channel on YouTube and subscribe and start following the adventure. You do not want to miss this.
How many videos have you done, Dewey? Just out of interest. Overall, total, since you've had the channel, yeah.
Since I've had the channel, I think I'm on video 108 or 109. So not that many,
you're
really.
Kind of ahead of your time for your editing and the format of your videos is quite impressive, really. The way that you do your B-roll and the actual layout of the videos and that, you do a good job.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just, I try to.
And I have to say, just for disclosure, I've only seen a few of them, but what I've seen has been good. Sorry, mate.
No, I really appreciate that, but it's a new, every video is a learning experience. So hopefully they just keep getting better. I'm actually really excited. The Carretera Austral stuff is coming up here very soon. I think I have one video more before I start those videos, and I think those ones are going to be some of the best videos of the whole trip. I think that's going to be an amazing series of videos.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that and to the Patagonian stuff. Really am. Okay. Right. With that, here we go. Dewey does his own color grading.
I do.
Yeah. Actually, I have noticed that you got some kind of special coloring going on. That's quite good. I thoroughly agree. I thoroughly agree with this. Yeah, I was actually thinking, Stevie, you were mentioning, because you made a video about how people should get started and what they should do. Keep it short, keep the video short. Don't leave a lot of pauses. That's everything that Dewey is doing. I agree. Ahead of where you are in your subscribers, and that should just continue to grow. I
absolutely
thoroughly expect it.
Yeah, okay, I hope so. But if I don't, like I said, it's the videos are there for people to watch, and they're for my memories too. So that's
the main thing is enjoy creating them, because unfortunately it's unlikely to pay for your trip. I mean, it would be ideal, wouldn't it, if you could just live off of your YouTube income by traveling around the world?
Yeah, but there's something to be said for not having to have what you're doing be your income. I think that would induce another level of stress and worry and pressure.
I don't know. It sounds like it'd be much easier to me, but
I think there are two sides to it, right? You ideally want to live by doing the things you really enjoy doing. So if you really enjoy doing, if you can make an income from it, yes. But on the other hand, you're right, and then it becomes at what point does it stop becoming something that you love to do, and it starts becoming something that you have to do?
But I look at Itchy Boots, and I've kind of looked into her way of doing things for a little while now, and she really is living the dream. She really is having a good time. She does some big risky stuff. Dewey, I don't know if you know, I've met her in real life, and she
here we go.
Yeah. Can you put the photo up, Noob?
I haven't got it. Send it to me. I'll put it next time.
And her and Ryan F9 are one of the bigger YouTubers, which are absolutely genuine. A lot of big YouTubers that I met are so up their own ass. It's unbelievable. Them two were nothing inspirational is the only way I can say it, really. Yeah, and she is living the dream. You know, obviously she's earning big money from it. She's doing these trips, and it's just a wonderful life, really. So it seems.
Yeah, well, she's doing amazing things too. You know, it's interesting though, because I heard an interview with Charlie Sinawan, and he talked about how once he became so professional at it that he felt like he wasn't as much of a traveler as he was a filmmaker in the sense. So I think there's a fine line, and it depends on every person and where they fall on it.
Absolutely. And my brother is a filmographer, and he's given me some tips over the years. And some of the things that he's said, I've always said to him that I don't want to know too much, because once you start going into whatever shot you get could always be better, and it could always be better next time, but you'll never get there. You'll never get the perfection. I don't want to think like that. I just want to keep doing my thing and get the shots better as much as I can in my little world, and not have to worry about any professionalism and color grading and things like that. I mean, I've had a go at it, and I look at it and I think, well, that green looks green to me. I don't know. I just don't know. And I don't want to know. I just want to enjoy making it, because that's where the line is for me. It's not to get too professional and start having to change lenses and all that malarkey. I just want to try and use simple gear and get it the best that I can.
Well, that's the great thing about YouTube, is that it doesn't matter how professional you are. If you have something interesting to share, no matter how good your equipment is, you can share it, and it can do well, and it can, people will watch it.
And that's where Itchy Boots absolutely smashes it, because she gets relatively simple shots, but they're good shots. They take a lot of setting up, but anyone can get that shot. And also the storyline is there as well. She's very intelligent at what she does.
Yeah, and she must.
So hopefully, I'll be getting a check for that.
Yeah, and she must do an immense amount of research. The amount of trivia knowledge and information about the places she's going through is incredible. I don't know how she finds the time to edit and make videos, do all that traveling, and do all the research.
That was one of the questions they had at the ABR, actually. Sorry, it's a big festival in the UK, Adventure Bike Rider Festival, and somebody asked her, do you have an editor? Because that's a big thing. Everybody's saying, have you got an editor? And she was saying, no, it's the question which always annoys her. And like I've said before to many people, she sort of travels for 3 days, but then she's got another 2 or 3 days where she's stuck in a hotel or doing whatever. She's got loads of time to edit, in effect, So, so she does do all her own editing. I don't know.
Hats off to her. Three videos a week at the level that she's doing it is just amazing. And for doing it as long as she has, I mean, it's been 5 or 6 years that she's done 3 videos a week, basically.
Is she doing 3 videos? I thought she only done 1 for some reason, but maybe I got that wrong.
No, I had to stop watching. I didn't have time to keep up with watching her videos.
Yeah, at least for a long time she was doing 3 videos a week. I don't know if she slowed it down a little bit, but
I was gonna say I only get 1 through a week, but yeah.
But that's the other thing is, right, for some reason, she really annoys my wife. My wife cannot stand watching Itchy Boots. She finds for whatever reason. I mean, she'll watch Dewey's videos, she'll watch your videos, she'll watch Uncle Longbeard, she'll watch Pooley's videos. But I'll put on a Itchy Boots video, she start getting, you can feel it. She starts getting annoyed. So I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, Right, we started this a few times, but thank you very much, everybody who joined. It's been fantastic. I've really thoroughly enjoyed this chat. Let's do it again, Dewey, in a few months, maybe after, on your way back. So we'll be in touch. But for now, I'm just going to say thank you very much for watching. Safe trip. Please don't get your motorcycle stolen again, right?
It's locked up.
Yeah, looking forward to keep watching it. So thank you, everybody who's tuned in to watch, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.